All right, get ready because we are diving deep today into the world of AWS EC2.
Ooh, easy to.
We've got a ton of research,
Yeah,
articles, all sorts of stuff here. We're going
sure.
to try to figure out, like, what is the deal with EC2? Why is it important? What are all these different instance types? And how do you use them?
I think what's really cool about EC2 is like it's not just renting hardware,
Yeah.
it's this whole ecosystem that makes it easy to build and run applications.
So before we go too far, let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Why would someone choose EC2 over just buying their own servers? Because you always hear owning is better than renting.
Right. And actually, a lot of the sources we looked at talked about how there's this big shift going on.
Oh, yeah.
And with EC2, you're basically taking all those server headaches like security patches and troubleshooting and redundancy, and
Yeah.
you're just giving them to Amazon to handle.
Okay.
So you can focus on what makes your application unique, what makes it special.
So it's kind of like, being a landlord versus being a tenant.
Yeah, I like that.
You don't have to deal with all the headaches,
Yeah.
but is it more expensive?
Well, one article I read had this really interesting scenario.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're launching a new app
Yeah.
and you have no idea how much traffic you're going to get.
Right?
If you buy your own servers, you're either, overspending because you have all this idle capacity,
Oh, yeah.
or you're scrambling to scale up when it gets busy.
Yeah. Either way, you're in trouble.
Exactly. It's like a lose-lose.
Yeah.
But with EC2, you just scale up or down as needed.
Oh, okay.
So, like, let's say you suddenly get a ton of users.
Yeah.
No problem. You just spin up more instances in minutes.
Oh, wow.
And then when things calm down, you scale back and you only pay for what you used.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and not only that, but the sources mention that EC2 costs have actually been decreasing while performance is improving.
Really?
Yeah,
That's wild.
it is.
So it's not just about convenience.
Yeah.
It's also about cost effectiveness,
Right.
especially for startups or projects with unpredictable needs.
Exactly.
Okay, so now for the fun part. Let's talk about the different flavors of EC2 instances.
Yes.
Because the sources describe it as a menu at a fancy restaurant.
so many options.
Yeah, with all these different choices.
And just like a good menu, there's something for everyone.
Okay.
So there are 5 main categories of instances: general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, and GPU instances.
Okay, break those down for me.
All right, so general purpose instances, those are like your reliable all-rounder,
Okay.
good for everyday tasks, handling a mix of processing, memory, and networking.
Yeah.
Like think about an email server.
Okay.
It needs to be responsive, but doesn't need to be a supercomputer.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Right.
What about compute optimized instances?
Oh, those are the muscle cars of the cloud world.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're built for heavy lifting, lots of CPU power.
So if you need to crunch a lot of numbers.
Yeah. Exactly. Like if you were analyzing real-time data streams from something like Twitter, that's where you would use those.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about memory optimized instances?
Those are like a spacious cargo van.
Okay.
They're designed for handling large amounts of data in memory.
Oh, so they have a lot of RAM.
Yeah, think of a system juggling multiple applications at the same time.
Oh, I see.
That's where these would shine.
Okay, all right. Storage optimized. This is about hard drives, right?
Think bigger, think massive warehouse packed with hard drives.
Whoa. Okay.
These are built for workloads that need to access huge data sets quickly.
Gotcha.
Like the sources mentioned, distributed file systems and data warehousing, things like that, where you're dealing with a lot of information.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And finally, GPU instances. I'm almost afraid to ask.
These are the high-end gaming rigs of the cloud,
Oh, wow.
designed for tasks that need a ton of graphics power, like 3D modeling or animation,
Oh, well,
even machine learning that relies on GPUs.
so it's like giving your virtual computer a supercharged graphics card.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these different families of instances.
Yeah.
But the sources also mention that there are even more specific instance types within these families, right?
Yes, it's like choosing between different models of a car.
Oh,
There are so many options.
so for example, what are some of the more like niche instance types?
Well, there's the burst-stable performance instances, or T2 instances,
Okay.
and those are designed to run at a baseline level, but they can burst to higher performance for a short time by using credits they've earned.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like having a turbo boost when you really know it.
Okay.
Then there are EBS-optimized instances, which are designed for really fast data access when you're working with elastic block storage.
So that's like having a superhighway connection to your storage.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's cluster networking instances,
Okay.
and these can communicate with each other at incredibly high speeds within a special group, like a private network.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And then what about those dedicated instances? They sound pretty exclusive.
They are. They provide complete hardware isolation.
What does that mean?
It's like having your own private island in the cloud.
Oh, wow.
Perfect for workloads where privacy and security are absolutely essential.
Okay, so if you are dealing with really sensitive information, you would go with a dedicated instance.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground here with the different instance families and these specialized instance types,
We have.
but there's still more to explore, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more to uncover.
All right, well, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and dive even deeper into the world of EC2.
Welcome back.
Okay, so we've talked about these different instance families and like what they're good for,
Right.
but we haven't really talked about what makes them, tick. Like
Yeah.
what's actually under the hood.
Yeah, and the sources we looked at got into some really cool details about the actual hardware. It's not just a generic virtual machine.
Yeah.
You can actually choose the underlying architecture that best suits your needs.
Wait, so it's not just about choosing a compute optimized instance. I can actually decide if I want it to be powered by like Intel or AMD processors.
Exactly. It's like choosing different engine types for your car.
Oh, okay. I get
You know,
that.
they'll all get you there, but some are better for certain types of driving.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, Intel Xeon processors are kind of the workhorse of cloud computing.
Okay.
They've been around forever. They power a lot of EC2 instances, and they're known for their, solid performance.
So like the reliable sedan of the CPU world.
Exactly. Dependable, gets the job done.
Yeah.
And Intel's hyper-threading technology allows for more efficient multitasking, which is great if you're running a variety of workloads.
So Intel's a good safe bet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, what about AMD?
AMD is definitely a force to be reckoned with these days.
Really?
Yeah, their EPYC processors are gaining popularity, and for good reason.
What is that?
Well, one of their articles talked about how AMD is really strong when it comes to core count. So they're really powerful for tasks that can be split up and run in parallel. It's like having a whole team of workers tackling a project at the same time.
Oh, okay, so they're all about that multi-core muscle.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the sources also mentioned something called ARM processors.
Yeah,
I know ARM from smartphones and tablets,
right.
but what are they doing in the cloud?
That's a great question, and it kind of shows how those lines are blurring between different computing worlds.
Yeah.
But ARM processors, specifically the Graviton processors,
Right.
are known for being really energy efficient, which is a huge plus.
Oh, okay, so they're the eco-friendly option.
Yeah, you could see that.
Does that actually translate into cost savings?
Absolutely. The sources were pretty clear about that.
Oh,
Graviton-powered instances can give you a much better price-performance ratio.
really?
Yeah, especially for workloads that can be spread out across multiple servers.
Mhm.
So if you're a company that really cares about efficiency and wants to keep those energy costs down,
Yeah.
ARM is definitely something to consider.
So we've got Intel for reliability,
Great.
AMD for multi-core power,
Yeah,
and ARM for energy efficiency.
exactly.
Any other hardware players we should know about?
Well, there's one more big name, and that's NVIDIA.
Oh, yeah, NVIDIA.
Their Tesla GPUs are the ones you'll find in EC2's GPU instances.
Okay.
Those are specifically designed for workloads that need a lot of computational power.
So if I'm doing anything with 3D graphics or machine learning or anything that needs a lot of graphical horsepower,
Yeah,
I'm looking for an NVIDIA-powered instance.
exactly. And the sources were pretty clear about that.
Okay.
Those GPUs can really supercharge performance,
Okay.
but they also mentioned that they might not be the best choice for general-purpose computing tasks.
Right, because it's like you don't want to use a race car for your daily commute.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is all very fascinating.
Yeah.
But how does this knowledge actually help someone make decisions about their EC2 instances?
That's a great question.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but let's go back to that fictional company we talked about.
Okay.
Remember, they need to analyze customer data, manage their email system, run a search engine, and handle some confidential processes.
Right.
So knowing about these different hardware providers can help us make even more informed decisions.
Oh, okay, so let's put on our cloud architect hats.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with the customer data analysis.
Okay.
We decided a compute-optimized instance would be a good fit, But now we need to think about the hardware.
Right, so if cost is a big factor, and the analysis involves a lot of parallel processing,
Yeah.
an AMD EPYC-powered instance could be a really good option.
Oh, because of all those cores?
Exactly. Those extra cores can make a big difference in speed and efficiency.
Okay, but what if they need the absolute best performance and budget is less of a concern?
Then an Intel Xeon-powered instance might be the way to go. Because Intel chips are known for their high clock speeds,
Gotcha.
which can be beneficial for certain types of analysis.
So it's really about understanding the specific needs
Yeah,
and matching them to the strengths of the hardware.
exactly.
Okay, so it's all a balancing act.
It is.
What about their email system?
Right.
We're looking for reliability and responsiveness, but it doesn't need to be a processing powerhouse.
For something like email, where the performance demands aren't as high,
Yeah.
an ARM Graviton-powered instance could be a really smart choice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because they're so energy efficient, which means lower costs over time.
It's like choosing a fuel-efficient car for your daily commute.
Exactly.
Now, what about that search engine?
Oh, yeah, lots of data, complex algorithms there.
Right.
We might want to stick with that combination of instance types, like we discussed earlier,
Okay.
but we can be strategic about the hardware, too.
Okay.
So for the memory-optimized instance, the one handling the search index, we could go with an Intel Xeon-powered instance with tons of RAM.
Okay.
And then for the compute-optimized instance running the search algorithms,
Mhm.
an AMD EPYC-powered instance could be a great fit.
Okay, so we're mixing and matching instance types, A&D hardware providers, to create the best solution.
That's the idea.
I'm starting to feel like a cloud mastermind.
Ah, nice.
What about those confidential processes?
Okay.
We decided dedicated instances would be the best for security,
Right.
but does the hardware provider matter in that case?
It definitely can.
Okay.
So while dedicated instances give you that hardware isolation,
Yeah.
the underlying hardware can still impact performance.
Oh, okay.
So if those confidential processes involve a lot of complex calculations,
Yeah.
an Intel Xeon-powered dedicated instance might be the best because of that extra processing power.
Okay.
But if energy efficiency is a bigger concern, you could go with an ARM Graviton-powered dedicated instance.
So even when you're talking about dedicated hardware,
Yeah.
there are still choices to be made.
Absolutely.
This is really starting to feel like a strategy game,
It is.
where you're trying to optimize everything for performance and efficiency and cost savings.
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
And it's a game you can definitely win if you know what you're doing.
right.
By considering both the instance type A&D, the underlying hardware, you can really fine-tune your setup.
Okay, we've officially leveled up our EC2 knowledge,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's still more to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
The sources mentioned storage and networking and how those can also impact performance.
You're right. We've only scratched the surface.
Okay, so we're in the home stretch now of our EC2 deep dive.
Almost there.
We've talked instance types, we've talked hardware.
Right.
Now it's time to talk about those other things that can really make or break your
Yeah.
setup.
Yeah.
Storage and networking.
Those are important.
Yeah, the sources really emphasize that it's not just about how much storage you have.
Right.
It's about what kind of storage you choose.
Exactly. It's like with a car. You need to think about how efficiently it can access the things it needs.
Yeah.
So in EC2, that's all about storage performance.
Okay.
How quickly your instances can get to the data they need.
Gotcha.
And the most common type you'll see is elastic block storage, or EBS.
EBS, okay, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
But mind me.
So think of EBS like an external hard drive.
Okay.
You attach it to your instance.
Yeah.
It's persistent, meaning your data stays there even if you stop or restart your instance.
Okay.
And EBS comes in different flavors, each optimized for different needs.
Oh, interesting.
So there are volumes for general purpose use,
Okay.
others for high performance applications,
Gotcha.
and even some specifically for massive media files.
So you got to pick the right tool for the
Right.
job.
Yeah.
What other storage options are there?
Well, the sources mentioned instance store volumes.
Okay.
Those are temporary storage that live directly on the physical server hosting your instance.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like the RAM in your computer. Super fast, but the data's gone when you turn off the machine.
So instant store is good for temporary stuff.
Right, like calculations or caching frequently used data.
Yeah. Okay.
But for anything important, you'd want EBS for that persistence.
Makes sense. And even within EBS,
Yeah.
there are different options, right?
Yes. One article I read highlighted IOPS.
IOPS.
Input-output operations per second.
Oh, okay.
It basically measures how quickly your storage can read and write data.
So the higher the IOPS, the better the performance.
Exactly, especially for databases or anything that needs frequent data access.
So IOPS is like the speed at which you can flip through a book.
I like that analogy.
The faster you can flip, the faster you find what you need.
Exactly.
Okay, so storage performance is a big deal.
It is.
Anything else to keep in mind?
Cost, EBS is powerful, but it's not free.
Right.
You pay for the storage space and the IOPS you use.
So it's like choosing between a basic car and a luxury car.
Yeah,
They'll both get you there,
right.
but the cost and the performance will be different.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to networking.
Okay.
I imagine that plays a huge role in how well instances communicate with each other and the outside world.
Absolutely. Networking is like the nervous system of your cloud setup.
Okay.
It connects everything and allows it to work together.
Gotcha.
And the sources talked a lot about virtual private clouds, or VPCs.
VPCs, okay, I've heard of those,
Yeah.
but I'm a little fuzzy on what they actually are.
So imagine a VPC as your own private network within AWS.
Okay.
It's like having your own little section of the internet
Oh, okay.
where you can launch your EC2 instances and control all the settings.
So it's like having your own custom-built secure internet just for your applications.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It gives you a ton of flexibility to design your network however you need.
So with all this talk about networking,
Yeah,
I got to ask about speed.
of course.
How fast can these EC2 instances actually communicate?
That's the key question, right?
Yeah.
It depends on a few things. The instance type, the network configuration,
Yeah.
even the physical location of your resources.
Oh.
So EC2 instances come with different network performance levels,
Okay.
measured in gigabits per second, or GBps.
Okay.
Some instances are built for high-speed data transfer,
Gotcha.
like if you're doing video streaming or handling those huge media files we talked about.
So if I'm building a platform for streaming 4K movies,
Yeah.
I need an instance with a lot of bandwidth.
You got it.
Okay.
The sources also mention placement groups,
Right.
which let you group instances together for better performance.
So it's like putting your servers right next to each other in the data center.
Exactly, minimizing lag and maximizing speed.
So physical location matters, even in the virtual world.
It does.
Any other networking tips?
Well, security is always a big concern.
Of course.
The sources really stress the importance of properly configuring your VPC and security groups.
Okay.
It's like building a fortress around your valuable data.
Okay, so we've covered storage, networking, security.
Oh.
Anything else we need to think about for optimizing our EC2 setup?
One last thing the sources mention is monitoring and management.
Okay.
EC2 has a lot of tools to help you keep an eye on your instances,
Yeah.
track their performance, and troubleshoot any problems.
So it's not enough to just set things up and forget about it.
Right. You need to actively manage your EC2 environment.
You get the best performance.
Exactly.
Wow. We covered a lot today.
We did.
We went from the basics of EC2 all the way to storage, networking, management.
It's a journey.
I feel like I've earned my cloud computing certification.
I think you have.
But really, I think the most important thing is that we've gained the knowledge to make informed decisions about EC2.
I agree.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
Me too.
We take something complex and break it down into manageable pieces
Right.
so our listeners can explore and learn with confidence.
And who knows, maybe this will spark an idea for a new application or service.
Yeah, with EC2, the possibilities are pretty much endless. Well, this has definitely opened my eyes to the potential of cloud computing.
I'm glad to hear that.
So for all you listeners out there, remember, knowledge is power, and with the right tools and understanding, you can build anything you can imagine.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AWS EC2.